What's up, everybody, and welcome to part one of my Marcia Clark Without a Doubt book review. Of course, going over the Oj Simpson case. If you're new to the channel, I have just gone over Ken Kratz's book on the Making a Murderer case, the case against Stephen Avery and what making a murderer gets wrong. Those videos are up if you haven't seen them, and I do have another Making a Murderer book coming as well. But the Oj Simpson case is a case I wanted to discuss since I've started doing these videos. It was a case that happened when I was almost 13 years old. I was just about a month away from turning 13. And from June 1994 to October 1995, I was absolutely obsessed with the Oj Simpson case. And since then, I have watched just about every documentary, every television special, everything you could possibly imagine that I've been able to find in regards to the Oj Simpson case, the Oj Simpson trial, I have watched. And I am still fascinated with it to this day. So I've got Marcia Clark's book, and we're gonna go over it. Chapter by chapter is how I did Ken Kratz's book, so we'll see how I go over Marcia Clark's book. Her book is much longer than Ken Kratz's book, so we'll see where it takes us. And if you're new to the channel, we are almost at 60,000 subscribers. So thank you very much for your support over the last little while. I truly appreciate it. Marcia Clark starts out by stating that before June 13th, 1994, her problems were her problems and no one else was interested. Talking about how she became much more famous starting on June 13th, 1994. She talks about going through her divorce. She states that she left the DA's office, the district attorney's office, the year before for a new job in central operations. But in December 1993, she asked for her old job back because she was bored and unhappy with her current job. Says she filed for divorce on June 10th, 1994, 3 days before Oj Simpson crashed into her life like a meteor. She talks about going to work on June 13th, 1994. Of course, June 13th, 1994 is the day after the killings of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ronald Goldman. She states going to work on that day, no case she had at that time was anywhere near going to trial, and that all she had going was a kidnap and murder case she had just taken to the grand jury. She states then she got a call from Phil Van Natter. Van Natter was an officer in the LAPD's robbery homicide division, and he starts out with, "I got this double murder." Little did she know that that sentence would change her life forever. Marcia Clark states that she did not know who Oj Simpson really was at the time. She kind of knew who he was in a couple of movies. He was doing the Naked Gun movies at the time, but she wasn't really a sports fan, so she wasn't really all that familiar with who Oj Simpson was. Van Natter tells Marcia Clark he's got two bodies: Oj Simpson's ex-wife, Nicole Brown Simpson, and a unidentified male, which would later turn out, of course, to be Ronald Goldman. He states that the murder is in Brentwood on Bundy Drive. He states there is a lot of blood, a trail of blood leading away from the bodies. They would later go on to say that there was a river of blood. I mean, I don't know if you've seen the crime scene photos. If you're watching this, you probably haven't. It was absolutely brutal and horrific. Philip Van Natter states that they found a beeper, a blue knit ski cap, and a brown leather glove. Right now they're stating they found this stuff at Nicole Brown Simpson's house. And of course, the glove, you know, the famous glove. If it does not fit, you must acquit. Marcia Clark talks about how Philip Van Natter and Tom Lang and two other detectives from West LA Station went to notify Oj, but he wasn't home, so they talked to Oj Simpson's daughter. Philip Van Natter tells Marcia Clark about how he found out that Oj Simpson left for Chicago, and about how they found a glove in the pathway at Oj Simpson's house, and the glove appeared to match the one they found at Nicole Simpson's house. Philip Van Adder had called Marcia Clark to find out if she felt they had enough evidence to justify getting a search warrant, and she felt that they did. Marcia Clark even told Van Adder that she would go to Rockingham to babysit the cops serving the search warrant. Then Van Adder would later call back Marcia Clark and told her the warrant was signed. She said that she was surprised by this because he didn't let her read the final draft first. She then asked who the criminalist was, and Philip Van Adder replied with, "I heard he's okay. His name's Dennis Fung." Now you're telling me that you have a massive celebrity. You realize that this case is you have to realize that this case is going to be everywhere worldwide. You have 2 murders, which you apparently suspect Oj Simpson of doing at this point in time. And you're not going to get the absolute best that the LAPD has. You're going to get a guy that you say is, "I heard he's okay," in Dennis Fung. No, you want to get the absolute best person possible. Right? Is that crazy? Like, if the best person possible is already on another case, you pull that person. Or you're like, "Hey, come over here." Like, you get the best person possible. Marcia Clark states that when she got to Oj Simpson's house, she noticed a white Ford Bronco. Yes, that white Ford Bronco. And from the rear of the vehicle, she noticed a trail of reddish-brown spots. When she gets there, she asks if Phil Van Adder and Tom Lang are around. She's told no. OJ showed up back from Chicago, so they took him down to the police station. Marcia Clark was then approached by 2 other detectives, Ron Phillips and Brad Roberts, and then joined by a third. That third would turn out to be Mark Furman. Marcia Clark states it was actually Mark Furman that gave her a tour of Oj Simpson's property. Marcia Clark talks about how Mark Furman told her what Cato Kalin said to him earlier, saying that Cato Kalin told him he heard a loud thump and that it was so loud that he thought that there was an earthquake. Mark Furman showed Marcia Clark where he found there's a lot of people out there that believe Mark Furman planted this glove, but he shows Marcia Clark where he found the glove. Marcia Clark said he told her he never picked up the glove, but he left it for the criminalists to find. Mark Furman said he thinks Oj Simpson ran into the air conditioner that was also out there and dropped the glove without knowing it. Definitely a believable story. Marcia Clark talks about how for someone that supposedly framed Oj Simpson, talking about Mark Furman of course, that when he saw the statue that Oj Simpson has of himself in his backyard, that he looked at it and stared at it with awe. She states that he was looking at it like he was looking at one of his heroes. Marcia Clark states that Mark Furman would later claim to have found a bloody fingerprint on the back gate and a Swiss Army knife box on the edge of Oj Simpson's tub. But during the tour, when he was giving it to her, he did not mention either of those things to Marcia Clark. Marcia Clark states, though, they did find later in Mark Furman's notes that he wrote these things down. Marcia Clark states that she then went to the Bundy's crime scene, which would be Nicole Brown Simpson's house, but when she got there, she was told she couldn't get in there, that no one was allowed in. She states how she noticed a bloody paw print and wanted to know right away who that dog belonged to, because it's possible they could have seen something. Marcia Clark talks about being offered the case and accepting it, but wasn't sure if Gil Garcetti would sign off on her because it was his decision they would need. It was Gil Garcetti's final decision on whether Marcia Clark would be able to take this case or not, and as we know, he eventually obviously would sign off on it. Marcia Clark talks about how Tom Lang told her during the interview with Oj Simpson at the police station They took blood from OJ, they took some photos, and they did record the interview, but then they let OJ Simpson go. Marcia Clark was mad. She did not understand why they let OJ Simpson go. Tom Lang told her he's not going anywhere, he's too famous. Marcia Clark talks about how she was told OJ Simpson had a bandage on the middle finger of his left hand. OJ told them he cut it in Chicago, but then he needed to explain where the blood in his forearm came from. So he said he noticed it was bleeding before he left, but didn't have time to clean it up because he was in a rush to get to the airport. Marcia Clark then again talks about how she does not understand why the detectives let OJ Simpson go. She states that there seems to be a ton of evidence against him, states that he could be out there destroying evidence right now. And she definitely has a point. Who knows what OJ could have gotten rid of, allegedly of course, if when they let him go. He could have been out there doing anything. Who knows? But that's chapter 1 of Marcia Clark's book, without a doubt. You can get it at any bookstore. I got it on Amazon, and so far it is a tremendous read. This book has got nothing but amazing feedback. It was a New York Times #1 bestseller list, and I cannot wait to continue reading it. I sure hope you enjoyed this video. I'll be back with chapter 2 real soon. And again, I will have another Making a Murderer book coming real soon as well. Thanks for watching, everybody. I truly appreciate it. See you again soon.